Hey, what's up all you addicts out there? Thanks so much for tuning in to another Addicted Fishing tutorial. Today, we're out on the river. We're gonna be talking worms. It's something that you guys all know if you follow us that we love to fish for steelhead. So me and Jordan are gonna go over 3 different setups. I'm gonna talk about floats, fixed floats in particular. And what are you gonna go over?
I'm gonna go over the sliding float with an inline weight, and then I'm gonna actually set up a drift fishing setup with these, which is something not a lot of people get to see. So you guys stay tuned, it's all coming at you right now.
Okay, so the first things first, Jordan, I come prepared.
Yes, sir.
So open up your hands here. Let's just see what we got here.
Fill me up, Captain.
We got some red haze, chartreuse. It's gonna take me forever. It's gonna take me forever if I name all the colors. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this and kind of show you guys is just as beads, you know, a guy goes to a river and he's got 50 different bead colors, 50 different sizes. Approach worm fishing the exact same ways. There's a ton of different companies out there making them. 3 notable companies off the top that I can talk about is obviously you got Mad River, who's been around in the game making worms forever. Addicted Steelhead worms, which are our own worms. You have WFO worms, you have B&R tackle worms. There's a million companies out there.
Blue, purple.
Exactly, there's a million companies out there making worms and making it different colors. So my first suggestion to you is go get a bunch of different colors.
Well,
right?
that's really kind of what ties into the effectiveness of the worm fishing. And I found, and really it's been from just experience on the river with these, is being able to change up tactic and be able to change up color that fast in a situation where you needed that really kind of puts it above and beyond. It goes along the natural, it's something that these fish naturally feed on in the river, and I've identified, and same in the Great Lakes, same as in the Northwest, I feel like they look like baby lamprey.
Exactly.
Is really what I've kind of keyed in on.
And I'm gonna show in my setup when I first go over the fixed setup how quick and easy it is to just quickly change your presentation on these worms.
Yeah, and that's, I love them for that fact. And there's times where, I mean, I have my very favorites, but then I have my silent killers always in the background, and having a good variety of those and a mix of colors, even different brands, really can set you above when you're going to use these worms.
Absolutely. Okay, so with our Addicted Steelhead worms, which I'll drop a link down below, and I'm actually gonna offer a special discount code just for you fishing addicts out there that are fans of our YouTube channel. This discount code is only for you. So I'm gonna have a link down below so you guys can get out there and buy some of our Addicted Steelhead worms, which are available on our website. And catch fish, which is what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So we come out with a bunch of different colors. I think we have 11 different colors on the website, and we came out with so many colors for that reason we were just talking about. Is being prepared, being able to switch quickly, and the fish is never gonna just want a pink worm. Right. He may want a red worm that day, or he may want a black worm.
And it all comes down to conditions that you're fishing.
Exactly.
So when you're talking about a high dirty river, you're gonna wanna go with some of the brighter colors. You know, some of these peach pearls, some of these red haze, a lot of these different colors you'll see on
a killer.
Exactly, on a cloudy, rainy, high water day, you wanna go with the colors that are screaming at you. Same with when you open your spinner box, same with when you open your bead box, whatever you're targeting these fish with, you wanna match that color to what the day looks like behind you. If you have low clear water, you're gonna go with a lot different presentation, maybe a brighter pink, something along the, you know, less timid color.
Exactly. Okay, with that being said, we kind of wanted to just give a real good breakdown of the colors and why there's so many different colors of worms. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go over the fixed float setup, how I prefer to fish these worms and how I fish them in most conditions. And then right after that, Jordan's gonna do a drift fishing setup and a slide setup, and then we're gonna show you guys how to fish them. So here we go. All right, addicts, so let's talk about the fixed setup here. So we're gonna talk about rod and reel first, and what I like to use typically is gonna be anywhere from a 9.5 to a 10.5 foot rod. Specifically with a fixed float, because you need more control of your setup, go on the longer end of things. I like 10.5 and even longer. Some of you guys in the Midwest, I know you guys are going up to 13, 14 foot rods. So the reason a lot of these guys are doing that is because it gives you a lot more control of your setup and control of the line to hold it off the water, which is very important when you're fishing these fixed setups. So 10.5 all the way up into 14 is gonna be awesome for fishing worms on a fixed setup. Reels, anywhere from a 3,000 to a 3,500 is usually what you're gonna use. I think, yeah, this is an RTX 35, which is a little bit bigger reel. Kind of got that from Jordan, picks up more line, gives you a lot more capability to fit more line on your spool as well. So easily transitions into salmon and steelhead, kind of more of an all-around reel. So anywhere to that 3,000, 35 is gonna work for you. Brand doesn't matter, but again, Okuma RTX, if you're looking for a good reel, highly recommend it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is braid, and braided line is super important for the biggest reason. You do not want your line to sink. You need to have control of that float, and if your line is sinking into the water, it's going to pull your float down and pull your float in directions that doesn't look natural. So anywhere from like a 30 to a 40 pound line is usually what I'm using. And people are gonna go, man, why are you using such a heavy line? Well, for a couple reasons. We don't wanna lose our setups. We don't wanna break our floats off and lose everything. And the other thing is the heavier, bigger diameter line floats a lot better. So go with something heavy. Trust me, you're gonna like it in the long run. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to be using some fluorocarbon bumper. So what we're doing typically into our braided line, if I can untangle this huge mess I got here, is we're going to attach a fluorocarbon bumper to our braid. And we're doing that with any sort of knot that you can find online that's gonna make that union. You can use a blood knot, you can use a double uni, a crazy Alberto. Any of those knots are gonna work for you to attach your fluorocarbon to the braid. All right guys, so after you get your fluorocarbon attached to your braid, we're gonna talk about floats. Now fixed floats, there's a bunch of different options out there, and basically what a fixed float is it's a float that's fixed to your line using usually a couple pieces of surgical tubing or an O-ring or something like that, and it makes it easily adjustable. What we're going to talk about today is something that we've been working on for a super long time, over a year now, been trying to get it right. It's the Addicted Mustad Steelhead float. And this one is still a prototype. As you can see, I've like whittled it down with a knife here a little bit. So this is still one of the prototypes that we were working on, but I do know a lot of you guys are waiting for these floats, and they are coming. I promise you they're coming. They will be here very soon. But the way these things work is basically when you open up the package, it's gonna come with your float. It's gonna come with 2 pieces of surgical tubing. It's gonna come with your weight system, which right now it's gonna come with 2 weights in the package. And then it's also gonna come with a little tiny O-ring. All right, so first thing you're gonna do when you open the package, you're gonna take your first piece of surgical tubing, you're gonna throw that on the line. And then you're gonna pull some line through. And then what you're gonna do, either with some water or some saliva, just get that top of that tube nice and moist so this surgical tubing will slide on there. So you're gonna slide that surgical tubing on there with the line through, like so. The next step, which is really important, because if for some reason the top and bottom surgical tube breaks, you're gonna be able to save the float. So what you're gonna do is take this leader, and you're gonna put this through the tube like so, just like that, pull it out. And the next step is you just hold that leader with your fingers like that. You're gonna take your 2 weights. You're gonna put your weight on here, weight number 1, weight number 2, and you're gonna slide those all the way to the top of the float like so. Or sorry, bottom of the float. The next thing is your O-ring. This O-ring is what's gonna hold those weights in place. So we're gonna put that O-ring over the top, slide that down like so. And the last piece, you're gonna grab this line here and your leader. You're gonna put it through that surgical tubing. Same thing, a little bit of saliva, a little bit of water. Slide that surgical tubing over there. Bingo. Now your float is affixed to the line. As you can see, it's gonna easily slide up and down your leader. Super easy to adjust the setup on the fly. What we're also gonna do is we're gonna have accessory packs for these weights. And the reason this float is so versatile, and the reason I have wanted to create a float like this for a long time, it allows you to fish all different jig presentations. Say you wanna fish a 16th ounce jig, but your float isn't tracking good enough in the water. Well, guess what? Pull your O-ring down, add another weight, boom. Now you can fish a 16th ounce. Say you wanted to go heavier, maybe you wanted to fish a 1/4 ounce. Okay, remove 1 weight. Now you can fish a 1/4 ounce setup. Or say you wanted to fish a 1/2 ounce. Remove both weights. Now you can fish a 1/2 ounce. So what it does is it makes this float extremely versatile and an all-around float. It's gonna make it so you can fish all-around weights and all-around sizes of setups and still catch fish with the same exact float. So I'm excited about it, the Addicted Mustad Steelhead float. It's gonna be in retailers very, very soon. That's my last little sales pitch on that guy. I love it. All right, so after you get your float affixed to the leader, you're gonna take some jig heads. These are our Addicted Mustad jig head pack. Comes with a nice selection of jig heads in the package. So you're gonna look at your water conditions, kind of decide what you wanna use. see what you think is gonna be the best out there. I think today I'm just gonna go with white. I'm gonna take a white jig head here. Like so. There's that package up. I'll have links in the description below, guys, for all these products. If you're interested in purchasing any of them, you'll be able to get them down below. And like I said, special discount code for you addicts only out there that are fans of our YouTube channel. So we're gonna take that jig head, we're gonna put it on there. Just gonna use a double clinch knot here. Take my trusty Gerber scissors here, and I'm gonna cut this tag end off. And you always wanna make sure you pick up that tag end. Don't leave it out in the wild here. So I'm gonna cut it onto the backpack and then throw it in the garbage. Like so. Grab that freaking. Usually I like to cut it in like a tackle box or just somewhere where I know it's not gonna get left. So there you go. So now you got your jig head attached. Next step's gonna be your worm. I'm gonna go with something pretty bright today. I'm gonna go with the red haze with a black tail. What I like to do with these is I'm gonna take the worm out. If I'm drift fishing it, Jordan's gonna show you, there is potential to use like a full 6-inch worm if you want. So that's why we make them both sizes. But the advantage to this is you can take your 6-inch, you take your Gerber knife or your scissors or whatever, and right here at the collar, you can cut it. Like that. And now what you've done is you've created a 4-inch worm. Take your extra piece there and throw it in the garbage. You're gonna take the tip of the flat end of that worm there and you're gonna put it right in the center. You're gonna slide that up the shank. Basically, you're playing a guessing game here. I usually like to go about right to the keeper head. But as you can see, this has got the KBD keepers on there, so that's gonna help hold your worm on that jig head and not get pulled down. So we're gonna pull it out there, then you're gonna slide it up over that. And there you go. Now you're fishing. And the advantage to that keeper, as you can see, is when you pull down on this worm, look at that. It's not pulling off of that jig head. So it's gonna allow you to be able to cast, get stuck in trees, get stuck on rocks, and it's not gonna mess up your presentation. All right, everyone, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna have Sean cut to a shot of these fixed floats in action. We're gonna roll that right here. All right, everyone, so now let's talk about why fishing this fixed float is so amazing and why I prefer it over most setups. When you're fishing a fixed float, to me, it's the most natural presentation a fish can see. You're not really putting anything in the way. It's your float, which is basically your indicator. What that float's doing is it's telling you what your bait's doing. So Sean, if you go to the float right here on the water, and as you can see, if I let it go natural here, pull it up, when the worm sinks down, and it's sitting perfectly, your float is going to be sitting straight up and down, just like so. You can go back through there again with no resistance. See how my float is tracking in the water perfectly and it's sitting straight up and down? That tells you that your bait is fishing correctly. Now let me show you what it's going to look like if you're fishing too deep. So if I drag this setup and I pull it through here, your float's gonna be turning and pointing a certain way. See how my float, as it's dragging, it's pointing this direction, Sean? The float is pointing downriver. That's telling you that you're fishing too deep. That's an indicator. Your float is indicating to you that you are fishing too deep in the water column, so you're gonna wanna adjust. Now, if your float's pointing upriver, like say you throw it out there and that fixed float's kind of pointing upriver and it's not straight up and down, what that's telling you is your bait is not getting down. It's not getting down in the strike zone. It's probably kind of fluttering up and boiling. So basically, oh, look at that. I'm all snagged up now. Yeah, guys. getting all snagged for you out here to show you how fishing's supposed to be. So like I was explaining, addicts, and as you can see as we were showing the float kind of inside here, the reason these fixed floats are so good is it just allows you to be natural. It allows you to give you the most natural presentation of the steelhead in all different types of water conditions. So I'm gonna make a couple casts out here, see if I can catch a fish and kind of show you guys how it's running through the water and how when you're mending it, it really controls that float a lot and it has a tendency to move it if you're not careful. I'm just gonna make a couple casts in here, and as you can see, if Sean goes back to the float, look at how straight up and down that float is. That's telling me that that thing is fishing perfectly. All right, guys, we'll try one more cast here on this inside. Maybe it'll drag a little bit to kind of show you. That's what I'm gonna do, actually. I'm gonna extend this out just to kind of show you guys what it's looking like when it's dragging through an area when the current's a little faster. You can see that float's not straight up and down. You see how that float has a little bit of a downturn? See how it's pointed down, boom, now it's kind of sinking a little bit. But you can see as the current drug through there, the float was pointing downriver. That's indicating to you that you're fishing just a little bit too deep. So basically, that's what makes these floats so awesome, right? Because now, okay, I was fishing a little too deep. Now I just grab my float, adjust, slide it down, and remake my cast again on the fly that quick. All right, guys, so we went over colors, we went over sizes, we kind of went over worms in general, and then I showed the fixed setup. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut to another video, which we're gonna come to tomorrow. What are you gonna explain? I'm gonna explain to you guys how to set up the sliding float setup with bobber stop, bobber, inline weight, everything that goes along with fishing that setup to fish a different style of water with these worms and make yourself that much more effective. Cool, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you want to see Jordan talking about the sliding float and kind of complete this whole worm fishing tutorials, make sure you tap that subscribe button, turn that bell on, and thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one.